I'd say there's two aspects that are really challenging for this research. One is just the remoteness of where we're working. The terrain is not easy to navigate. It's steep, it's rocky, there aren't a lot of roads. It's not easy to work out there. The other part of it is the birds themselves are very challenging. They can be secretive, they're not always in the easiest places to find them. They're in these really dense spruce fir stands. I mean, you can imagine, stems that are literally just inches apart from one another. It's very difficult to maneuver through that. And so these are really challenging birds to work with. One of the objectives of the research is to understand how these birds are selecting habitat. Why are they in site A but not in site B? What is it about site A that makes it more attractive? And in order to understand that, we need to put some sort of tags on the birds in order to track them, to understand where they're going, in order to compare it to places that are available to them but that they're not using.
So the general goal of this project is to look at habitat selection by Bicknell thrush in commercial forests in Maine. Traditionally, the species occurs above 800 meters in the state, but with, of course, the changes to the climate that are ongoing, their habitat is shrinking and is going to continue to shrink as time goes on. And so these lower elevation commercially managed forests are going to become increasingly important to the species. Our hope is to find out what the birds are using when they're here so that we can make recommendations to forest managers so that they can continue to harvest but do so sustainably with the birds in mind. And we also hope to contribute to the best management practices plans that exist for the state, just to hope to improve upon those.
The rusty blackbird has been declining for a long while now. It's believed to have declined by over 85% since the 1970s. So part of what we're doing out here is trying to figure out why that decline is occurring. We're searching for nests and we're taking vegetation measurements around those nests and also at random paired points so we can kind of compare what they're using versus what is available around the areas that they're using. When the nestlings reach a certain age, we're actually capturing them and the adults, and we're putting little VHF radio transmitters on them. And so they're basically little like backpacks that give out a signal. We can actually track that signal with antennas to kind of find the spots that they're using. And then we're also taking vegetation measurements at those spots. So that allows us to compare what the birds are using versus kind of what's available around. And then we're also kind of zooming back out. So at kind of the stand level, the different treatments of different forest stands, what kind of treatments they like and their survival is promoted in, and where they're not doing so great or they're just not using those other areas.
For me, what would be the most rewarding outcome would be if we can come up with a win-win scenario for landowners where they can continue to harvest the trees that they need to harvest in order to continue to make income and at the same time have high quality habitat for these birds, and that they are able to persist on these landscapes. So if we can continue to create the forest products that we want as a society, but also create habitat for these species that are in need of some help right now, I think that's the big win-win. It's looking to meet the needs of society and the needs of wildlife and continue to have these birds on the landscape, but also to continue to have the wood products that we want for building materials and toilet paper and things we like every day. Yeah. So, yeah, that to me is that's the best outcome.